So last time I showed you how I put the battery together for a 12S2P. Now this is this different battery pack because I already finished that and I didn't really explain it, so I want to make another video. But it's pretty much same setup. I just have it diagonal. So you can see I've labeled battery 1, all right, the first pair. Right, this is the negative of the whole battery, and if you follow this negative, 1 minus plus connects to 2 minus plus, like that, and then it will go to the 3 minus plus, and then 4 minus plus. So it's just going to go all the way to number 12. This is going to be positive. This is going to be the big positive. Alright, and you can see this pair is together, and then I've actually connected these pairs and folded them. Alright, and you can see these pairs are connected to the next pair, and then it goes down this way, and then you can see here also it's gonna the current's gonna flow, go back up right here, it's gonna current to the next pair, and so on. All right, so I've got the battery pack pretty much spot welded really well, and I do have the terminals out. So the terminals you want out, if my first video didn't explain really well. So I have an extra terminal tab coming out. All the tabs are coming out from the front so I can access it easily. Alright, so that's the 1 minus we'll need. And we'll also need 1 plus, and we'll need 2 plus, and we will also need 3 plus, 4 plus, 5 plus, 6 plus, 7 plus, 8 plus, 9 plus, 10 plus, 11 plus, 12 plus. Alright, those are all the terminals we need. If you have those tabs out, make sure you put some kapton tape over it so you don't actually short it, because it can easily cause fire, sparks. You don't want to do that. So I've taped it all up. And also the terminals, when you're done with it, for this particular side, I use a kapton tape and just tape it down. Just in case with electric skateboarding, a lot of vibrations, these things can come apart. So just apply kapton tape over it so it won't come off. Oh, you also put a shrink wrap after, something like this, so it'll keep everything in place. But I do like placing some extra kapton tape on the terminals that you spot welded. And you can see that where I fold it, I've pretty much applied a ton of hot glue so it won't move around. So this is a pretty solid setup right now. I could ride it even without shrink wrap. Right? Once you got a very good battery pack here, obviously you'll need to buy a BMS. All right, you'll need a 12S BMS. Now 12S BMS are kind of hard to find sometimes. So they have this thing called they have like a 6S to like 13S BMS. I think this is the one. They also have like basically adjustable BMS you can use from like 6S to like 17S sometimes. Now I'm going to be doing BMS bypass, which means just for charging I'm going to go through the BMS, which will keep charging safe. As for discharging actual load, I'm not going to go through the BMS. The problem is the higher current you go, the higher battery setup you go, you'll need a bigger BMS. And the problem with BMS sometimes is they're not very reliable. They're already set parameters, which means you're stuck with whatever maximum discharge output of the BMS. All right, instead of that, if you bypass BMS, you can set the maximum discharge current on your VESC instead, which keeps everything safer, because if BMS shuts down, your whole board shuts down, the motor shut down, and you could potentially fly off your board going like 30 miles per hour and basically kill yourself or faceplant, which actually happened to me. So this is why I'm going with, all my new boards are going with BMS bypass, which basically just means I'm going to use the minus and plus terminals for actually connecting to your battery. So this is the BMS, as you can see. And let me show you how the connections work. It's really simple. So you're going to go ahead and connect this guy here. I'm not going to connect it all the way because I want to use it later. So the first wire will be your number one battery, the absolute negative terminal. All right. From that, it's going to be battery 1 plus, battery 2 plus, battery 3 plus, battery 4 plus, battery 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, because this is an adjustable BMS, if you don't connect the 13th wire, it will still work fine. All right, so I'm just not going to connect the last wire. I might just pull it out. Oops. Okay, just pull it out. I'm going to cut this out, right, because I don't need it. All right, you might also be able to find just 12S BMS. That's fine too. Just remember, all BMS, the first wire is basically going to be your battery number 1 minus, and then followed by 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus, and you're just going to simply solder those. Now, once you connect those, you're good. Let me go ahead and show you other connections you'll need. This is the charge minus, C minus, charge minus. So you'll need to get your charge ports. You obviously need a charge port. So this is basically the charge port that will connect here. And then later on, you'll connect to your actual board like that. So the C minus is basically this wire here. All right. And then the positive, you're going to go ahead and connect it to the main terminal of the battery. All right, C minus. That's what it is. Now, I don't need this huge wire. For charging, you don't really use a lot of current, so you don't actually need these thick wires, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Now, I don't really need this big part, so I'm going to cut it out. And I don't know why manufacturer put such a big wire there. As far as the B minus, this goes to your battery minus. All right? So this is the only big wire I have to worry about. So when you line it up, just try to see where you're going to put the BMS. Of course, you can put it separate as battery, but I like to put it with the battery. So I'm most going to put it right here. And I made a mark here to know where I'm going to actually connect it. So it's going to connect just like this. All right. After I'm done wiring, I'm going to go ahead and put some foam on top of it to keep it from vibrating. And for the first part, I don't need this. So I'm just going to leave this apart. And I'm just going to tape this here and wire everything. Now, as far as the P minus, so the P minus is if you're going to actually go through the BMS. So if you do want to go through the BMS, then the P minus, this would go to your actual main terminals. Instead of doing that, we're going to go straight from the terminals so we can bypass the BMS and just take the power straight from the battery, which keeps everything safer. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically I'm going to go ahead and wire all of these terminals, starting with the battery minus, and then I'm going to go one by one. So I'm just going to tape this up real quick for the time being. So I'm going to just set it this way, and I'm going to start with the B minus. And I'm going to actually tape it up. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with the minus here. I'm just going to tape this up so I know the position of where it's going to go. Okay, right there, just to hold the spot. And I'm going to go ahead and tape it up so I can have a neat wire setup. And I'm just going to put these... Alright, I'm just going to put it nicely so it goes to the 1 minus. And I'm just going to position all the wires so I'm ready to solder them. Just like that, so I don't need too much wire. So the first wire after the black wire is going to be the 1 plus. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Just give it a little bit of extra length. I'm going to go like that. Since I'm going to be connecting a battery terminal later on, I'm going to put a big piece of solder so I could use it later. So I'm going to attach this and then also do that. Alright, so later on, I'm going to go ahead and use the top solder to connect the battery terminal. And I'm just going to go ahead and connect this over here. Let it dry. And once it's dry, it should be real tight like that. And I'm simply going to just go ahead and connect, I'm going to go ahead and close this with kapton tape so it doesn't short. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect the rest of the wire starting with battery terminal 1. Alright, so battery terminal 1 right here. So battery terminal 1 here. And I'm going to actually cut this so I can use this kapton tape. I'm going to go ahead and put the battery 1 terminal here. Alright, put a little bit of solder. Alright, go ahead and connect it. Solder it in there. Alright, let it dry. Make sure you use very good solder. Some of the cheaper solder are just hard to solder. And that's nicely on there. Alright, and I'm going to just go ahead and cover it back with kapton tape. Alright, and so on, I'm going to go ahead and connect the rest of the wires. Now put some extra solder for the charge port and also the actual load port. And I'm just going to go ahead and tape it up. Tape it up for now. So I'm done wiring up all the wires. Just double check everything's right. The first one again, I'm going here, and everything after B1, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus, 5 plus, 6 plus, 7 plus, 8 plus, 9 plus, 10 plus, 11 plus, 12 plus. Okay, once that's done, I'm just gonna tape up some of this so it won't move around too much. So I'm just gonna grab some Teflon tape. So I'm just applying some extra tape, kapton tape, so with vibrations it won't come off. This way I'm under. This way I'm sort of protecting the battery. Alright, that should be pretty solid there. And next I can go ahead and undo this. And now I'm going to go ahead and position my BMS where I want to go. Also, you have to know which way you want the wires to go out. So for my design, I want actually the wires to go out this way. So the charge minus is going to go that way. B minus is going to go here. And I'm just going to make sure the wires end up this way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put some neoprene, some foam on the top of it. I'm just going to put some foam on top of it to keep it from hitting the batteries and rubbing against the battery pack. So I'm just going to go right over the terminals here. And this is just a neoprene. It's insulating material. Self-adhesive neoprene. That way it's sort of insulated from the terminals. Alright. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. It's going to connect like that. And this will also hold it in place. And I'm just going to go ahead and put one kapton tape over it to hold it in place. Next I can go ahead and connect the B-. I want it just right on there, so I'm going to cut a little bit. And I'm going to get it this perfect size. Just right on the end right there, okay? And go ahead and apply a little bit of solder before you put it on. That will stick better on the actual wire. Okay, in this next step, we're going to set the battery aside. What we're going to do is, since I want the wires going out that way, so I'm going to have my charge port minus and plus going like that. And you can see the charge port is a little short, so I might extend the wire a little bit. And then as far as the positive terminal, since I'm using 12S 2P, I do recommend using 10 gauge wire for XT90. If you do have a 10S, then you can use an XT60, but I'm going to use the bigger wires just to keep it safer. And basically, you can get the one that snaps in like this. That way you don't have to use a heat shrink. I am going to go ahead and cut these ends off so it'll fit nicely like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a little piece of it out. Alright, that should do. And just a little piece of this out also. Make sure it just fits right in there. Alright, that should be fine. Note the negative and note the plus. Make sure you put it to the positive. And also, it's gonna be a female. All right, don't solder it to a male. All right. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and you'll need something to hold down this here. All right, you can go ahead and use like a clamp, or if you have one of these arms for soldering, you can go use that too. I'll go ahead and grab just grab something heavy to hold it down. And basically I want to solder this in here like that. Sorry for the camera angle, but basically like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this here. And the best way to do this, I'm just going to put a little bit of solder on one of the sides, just like that. And also inside here, I'm just going to put a little bit of solder and just sort of rub it in there. Alright, I'm just going to rub it in there. Rub, dub, dub. Sort of coat it. Don't make it too thick. Alright. And I'm going to get the side with the solder on the wire. And I'm just going to sort of heat from the top. Alright, and just let that solder melt a little bit. Or what you could do is just get something else to hold the other side like that. I have it nicely in there. I don't know if you can see there. Sorry for the angle. And I'm just going to apply some solder in there. There we go. And you can see a real nice tight connection there. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and work on the other side now. Sometimes soldering this can be a little tricky. Just make sure it's solder well. Make sure it's real tight, because if this falls off, you could fall off your board. So just make sure it's real tight. Good solder work. Just make sure everything, the ends are smooth, otherwise the fitting's not going to fit. Just going to make it real smooth over here. That should be real tight. That's not coming off anytime soon. And you're going to go ahead and connect this one here. And I'm just going to go ahead and lock this in. Keep it real tight. Do. And boom shakalaka. Alright. Be ready for the next step. You see the wires are separated here, and you're ready to go with an XT90 connector. Next size, I'm gonna get a shrink wrap, and I'm gonna just lengthen the positive terminal because I don't want it to get too short. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it out real quick. Just go ahead and extend it a little bit with some of the extra wires I got from the BMS anyways. And just apply a little bit of solder over it. Apply just a little bit of solder. And we're just going to go ahead and connect it with this other side over here. That should do it. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and heat wrap, shrink wrap it. There we go. So I've got a little bit extended here. Next, let's go ahead and connect it to the actual battery. So this is the fun part. Just make sure which way you know the wire's supposed to go. So I want the charge negative to hit here, and then the positive to go there. All right. So I'm just going to simply apply a little bit of solder next to the C-, wire left here. Just go ahead and connect it that way. Alright, that's nicely in. Next, I'm going to connect it to the positive, the 12th battery. Okay, I'm going to make the length just perfect, so it just goes right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and attach it there. So I'll have the charge port connected to the C- and the 12 plus. Also, next I'm going to go ahead and connect the wire. I want to also go out this way. So let me just go ahead and turn it. And I'm going to imagine putting it like this. And then the positive wire. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the negative first. I'm going to have it going sideways like that. Before I put it on, I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of solder on top of the tip here. Now make sure you don't ever get the solder over the BMS, because sometimes solder can drop and all your work went to hell. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and next solder the minus of the main terminals, bypassing BMS. Okay, lastly but not least, we're going to go ahead and solder this main terminal here. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Apply a little solder on the wire first. Alright, and then I'm just going to go ahead and attach it. Just like that. Oops, now I'm going to need more solder over there. Alright, my solder isn't the best work here. I do recommend putting some hot glue over it to really keep it in place after you solder. Okay, just apply hot glue. This really ensures that even if your solder work isn't the best in the world, it's going to really keep it together and also sort of isolate the terminals. So I'm going to actually apply where the wire I'm going to help the wire sit in all the way through so the wire itself doesn't break off of the terminals. And because there's a lot of vibration, I think this is a good idea. I actually copied it from one of the commercial battery packs I was disassembling. And I just like to apply a ton of it. A little messy, but this should keep it together more or less. And I'll apply a little bit more tough kapton tape. Let's just go ahead and apply a big piece of kapton tape here. Really just nail this down so it won't move around. This ensures, and also we'll shrink wrap it later, which will hold it in place. But the hot glue really keeps everything in place, especially if you're building your own batteries. And also the negative terminal. The important part is the actual low terminals, because we're bypassing BMS. If this comes off, we're safe. It's not going to affect our ride. But if this comes off during our ride, it's going to be very, very dangerous. So that's why we apply some hot glue all over it, so it'll keep it in place. And when hot glue sets, it hardens and it's really just holds everything in place. And you'll see a lot of the commercial ones actually even use resin to hold the wires in place. Sort of DIY. Just make a giant blob, and that would really help it. Believe it or not, it really helps it keep in place and keeps your whole battery safe. And if your soldering work isn't the best, this will also ensure your solder will stay there. So I've got it all set. Let me apply some more kapton tape on this end here. Just really just clamp down all this connections so it won't move. And let me do one more layer completely around it. So I'll just really hold it in place. And this kapton tape is great because it's rated for up to like 200 degrees Celsius, which means even if your battery heats up, it's still gonna hold the adhesive. So that's why I use kapton tape, and also it really insulates everything. Okay, I think the connections are pretty good, and I might apply one way around this way also, just to really just hold everything in place. Now you might be thinking, oh, what happens if your cell goes bad? Well, if you're starting with a good cell, brand new batteries, I mean, they're gonna last you a while. And also just don't when you don't discharge it all the way to 0 all the time, then these batteries can literally last a few years fine. And by then you can just take it apart. I've taken it apart also. I'm gonna apply a little bit of hot glue on the C- here, just to sort of help it hold it together. Some people like to put hot glue over the terminals, but these things are pretty darn strong, so you should be okay without doing that. Okay, so moment of truth. This should not do anything. Just make sure there's nothing burning or anything, so just get a bucket ready just in case start on fire or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here. There should be no sparks or nothing like that. Okay, so far so good. Okay, BMS wires connected. Looking very good. And also you can go ahead and sort of hot glue this off so it won't get in the way. The terminal, so it won't short it somehow. I just like to apply a little hot glue. Hot glue everywhere. Just hot glue it somewhere. Okay, that looks really good. Moment of truth. What you want to do is get a voltage meter. And if you're doing 12S 2P, you should get somewhere around 46 to 50 volts. If you're doing 10S, it should be 42 to around like 46 volts, something like that. Just to multiply. Okay, so positive. And do on the negative terminals. I'm getting 44.6, 40.45. So it should be empty battery. Now we're gonna go ahead and charge this before we shrink wrap it. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a charger for 12S. This is a 50.4 volt 2 amp charger. So get the appropriate charger. If you don't have the appropriate charger, obviously you'll need an appropriate charger. Okay, and I can go ahead and use one of these to connect it. And here's my charge ports. But this is the moment of truth. If you wired everything, you're getting good voltage, it should start charging. Yes! And boom shakalaka. If you see red, you're good to go. If you see anything, if you see any sparks, immediately disconnect, put it in a pot. Alright, and if anything shorted, just undo everything and double check everything. Alright, but I'm pretty sure I did everything right. So this adjustable BMS worked really good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and check the voltage while it goes up every once in a while. So right now it's 45 volts on the voltmeter. So this battery fully charged up, a 12S will go to 50.4 volts. This charger will stop charging around 50.3. Alright, but when this charges up fully, you should see all of the LEDs. There's LEDs on most BMSs. They'll light up, showing that all the cells have been charged, all the 12 pairs. So each LED stands for one of the pairs. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hi guys, so the battery charged full. Now let's go ahead and check the voltage. And you can see the lights didn't all light up. And you can see I'm at 49.7. It's supposed to go to 50.3 volts. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only half the batteries fully charged. The other one's slightly less charged, and my charger turned off. That's perfectly normal if you're using battery from multiple sources, battery cells. What happened was I took a older 10S apart, so half the batteries were already charged. So if that happens, sometimes the BMS will take a couple cycles to charge up. So don't worry about that. As long as it doesn't overcharge, as long as you're getting somewhere near the full charge of your battery. So for 12S here, you can see it's 40. Fully charged is 50.3 volts or 50.4 volts. You'll want to do 4.2 times whatever it is. If you're using 10S, that's going to be, for 10S, it's going to be 42 volts or somewhere near there. Now, the same thing actually happened with my old battery pack. This is another 12S 2P I built a couple of weeks ago. And this one, this one is actually worse. I only had like 3 LEDs working. It was only charging to like 47 volts, 48 volts or something like that. Because I've reused batteries from multiple sources, and you could see I could charge it right here, and it will actually light up the whole thing. So it took about 5 charges. I just rode my skateboard, and then basically rode it a bunch of times, and then now it charges all the way to 50.3. And you can see all the lights light up, and it's still charging, but it's pretty much near full. And let me go ahead and check the voltage on this one. And it's at 50.2 volts, as you can see, 50.2. Alright, so as soon as this reaches 50.3, the charger will shut off. Alright, so this is pretty much ready to go. The most important thing is that make sure your negative terminal to the battery, the most important thing is make sure your negative terminal and positive terminal of the battery pack that's going to your skateboard is not going to come off. So I hot glued it, I taped it real tight with kapton tape. And of course, lastly but not least, we can go ahead and put a heat shrink. A plastic heat shrink. You can buy this on Amazon. I'll have links. You can get some nice colored ones, or I like to get the see-through so you can actually see the LEDs, and it looks kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out the ends like this, and I'm going to see how much of this I need. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of extra. And I'm going to put 2 layers, but for the first layer, I'm going to worry about the bottom terminal and the top terminal because that's where the solder is, and I want to keep that real tight. So the first layer, you're going to really focus on getting that tight. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this in. And I can go ahead and cut this a little bit for the wires to come out. So I'm just going to cut it just a tad. So you go through like that. Alright, I'm going to line it like this. Just go ahead and hold it at the end. Use a heat gun with low. Make sure the terminals you go first. Alright, and then I'm going to go to the side a little bit. Hold it, hold it. Alright. And then I'm going to go ahead and sort of, oops, hold it over here. Hold it on the sides. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and turn it. And I'm going to slowly apply. Hold the side here. Also hold the side here. And get the bottom terminals. Just a little bit of low heat will just do. Sort of work slowly. And everything, you'll just hear it, everything getting tighter and tighter. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And I'm going to get some of this, if you have crease and stuff, just sort of pull on it a little bit. And it will work itself out. Alright. And I'm going to go ahead and work on this terminal over here. And this one's a little bit big, but my main concern is, like I said, getting this terminals real tight. And I think I accomplished that. Let me just make this a little bit neater here on top. Just make sure everything's smooth. Alright. And over here should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and tap that down a little bit. And also just push it in once it's, you can just go ahead and push it in a little bit. Okay, when that's done, I'm going to put another layer, another way, this way across to make it real secure. So put another piece, measure another piece. This time I'm going to go sideways. So I'm going to measure it out. Alright, just a little bit bigger. And you can see on the right, you can see all the LED came up, it stopped charging, and it turned green. And it should be at 50.3 volts. Okay, this time I'm going to wrap it the other way, sideways. And I'm just going to go ahead and use a heat gun again. That should do it. So we have a fully built battery pack, 12S, double wrapped heat shrink, and there's, if there's vibration, even if you, hit anything, it's gonna stay put real good. All right, so there you have it. There's my battery pack. And like I said, if your battery doesn't balance the first time, it's because you have a lot of batteries, like some are full and some are like near empty. Then it might take a couple cycles. But after a couple cycles, you will end up with a battery pack like this, and you can see it's fully charged. And when I go ahead and measure it, you have to get, you should get exactly 50.4 volts. So let me go ahead and do that. And you can see there, 50.4 volts. All right. So this battery pack is ready to go. Also, this battery pack is ready to go. This is a 12S 2P with Samsung 40T. This is a Samsung 30T with a 12S 2P. Pretty much the same batteries, but the Samsung 40T actually has way more capacity because this is 4 amps per cell versus 3 amps per cell. So the total capacity for this one is 344 watt hours. This one's only 260 watt hours. So if you guys are deciding, if you guys want to use a Samsung, if you guys want to use the 21700 batteries, which is the same one used on Teslas and all the newer skateboards now being developed with Samsung 40T, I do highly recommend going with a Samsung 40T because it's the exact same size as a Samsung 30T, about the same weight, but this is going to give you 30% more capacity. All right, power out, maximum discharge is the same on both, but yeah, double heat shrink, you should be safe. Double heat shrink, you should be pretty safe. And I've tested my battery packs over a couple 100 miles now, and they've never broken down. So that's good. Anyway, this tutorial is a reference only. Building batteries is, basically life and death, because if your battery fails, you could potentially fall off or fly off your board. So just use as reference, and if you're going to build batteries, make sure you know all the basics of it, like volts, current, and I'll have some more videos so you can understand better. But yeah, I'm really happy with this new battery. I'm going to go trust my life with it and ride, and I feel like nothing's going to come apart. So yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm going to put this on my board and go for a ride. And obviously I'm going to ride it a couple times, and that will give it full capacity, and it will balance all the cells eventually. So that's pretty much it. Hit the thumbs up. It just took a really long time to make the video tutorial, and I'll have more stuff. See you guys later.